this is going to be a short video on how to, with the Cricut Maker or the Cricut Explorer family, how to place your fabrics onto the mat, one mat in different places. And you can do the same thing with vinyl, whatever, but this happens to be fabric. And so that you can cut your shape here and cut another shape over here easily. Now, on the Brother Scan and Cut, all you have to do is place your fabrics on the mat wherever you want to put them, scan it into the Scan and Cut, and a picture will pop up. It'll look just like this, and then you just move your shapes to your fabric. But with the Cricut, it's a little different. So let me get these two off, and I just want to show you, we're going to be paying attention to the squares, or the graph, if you want to call it that, on the mat, because if we match where we are on the mat and we match it into the Cricut software, the mat that pictures there, it'll come out perfect. So let me get these off and let's get started. So now I'll just quickly show you. So if we want to, say we're cutting, I don't know, a couple squares or whatever from two different fabrics. So I'm going to put this one down, and pardon me while I reach for my wheel. It'll probably help if you put the wheel down the correct way, or the brayer. And I've got this little piece hanging over, so I'm just going to cut that off. If you want to save that, you can. And then I have another piece, and you can see that these are odds and ends. So I'm gonna, let's do it this way. This is a batik, so I can cut it from either side. And I'll just make it, the first couple, well, you know what? I'll make this one a little different. So what I always aim for is I want to try to stay on one of the lines. Well, this one's a little crooked. I don't need to do 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. So I've got everything. This one, I'm a little shy at the top. Can you see? Okay. So in the beginning, when you're first doing that, you'll want to make sure you get it up on a line or just over the line. I go on the line, and then when I place my shape, I come just inside the line. And so this one, with all this mess, I'm not going to worry about that right now, but I'm going along a line and along a line here. Okay, so now let's switch over, and I'm going to turn this way, so when we switch back. So we'll switch over to our Cricut Design Space. And again, if you have the Brother Scan and Cut, you would just put your things on your mat, scan it in, and these fabrics will come up on the screen, so you can move everything exactly without, doesn't matter if you're on a line or not, doesn't matter. So let's go into the Cricut Design Space. And I did have a circle here, but let me just pick it. So say I need a square from each piece. So I have a 2-inch square. I want another one, so I'm going to come up to the right where the duplicate is. Now I have 2. Now I want to show you this. I'm going to do this in a different color because I think sometimes some people, myself included, may have these different colors just so in our brain we have 2 different fabrics. We're going to have 2 different squares. So, but we don't need to, but you'll see why in a second. So I'm just going to say I need one of each of these. I'm going to go to Make It. And do you see how I have 2 mats? One for the green, one for the blue. But I've got all my fabric on one mat. So I'm going to, at this point, I'll say, oh yeah, I should have made them one color. I'm going to click on the number 2 mat. Up here in the top left circle is 3 dots. I'm going to move the object and I'm going to move it to the first mat, the green mat. Okay, so it's going to be on top of the other one. Now, you can still see that the number 2 mat is there, but when we go to the next screen, it won't be. It'll go away. But even if it did stay, if there's nothing on it, it won't cut anything. Now, I'm going to move this down over here. I'm just going to move this a little bit. So I'm going to switch back to the mat. And I'm going to look at this is going to be where one of them is. So let me see. So this is about almost 2 3/4 across. So for me, I'm thinking, oh, let me put that square down here and keep this piece as it is because it's a bigger piece, I have less waste. So if I look on the side, which I now have covered, so I'm coming down, I'm at, say I'm gonna come down and bring the square down to the 7. So the bottom of the square is at the 7. So I'm going to take the square and come down and be at the 7. Now you see this red line goes all the way around, and think of that as like the margin. So the Cricut has already made it so you're not going to the very edge of the mat. But I always come in a little bit, and the 7 line is right there. And remember, we've got about 7 1/2, so I can come down right on the line. And that one's going to be all set. Now I want to take care of this one. So now if we come back, well, this piece here is barely 2 inches. So I'm not going to use that section. So let's go just to this bottom corner. Because when you're first doing these, try to make it easy on yourself and not try to go up in here. Practice a little bit. So I'm on 1 inch in and 1 inch up from the bottom. See? 1 inch in, 1 inch up. So let me switch back. And I'm going to move the mat up. There we go. So I'm 1 inch in and 1 inch up. And then I come just a little bit inside those lines. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. So you can see, I'm just, instead of being on the line like the one up on the top left is, I'm just inside of that line. So that I should have a little piece. And I'm going to come in a little more because I can see my fabric is a little crooked. So do you see how I have, let me see if I can come in even more. Do you see how I've got a little room there? You know, it's like a sliver of fabric. That you'd be wasting, so to speak. And if you were doing this with a ruler and a rotary cutter, you'd have to square up and you'd take a sliver or more than a sliver off anyway. So let me get this back. So now you can see them both. And then I would go continue. I'm going to pick cotton. And then I'm going to switch over to the other camera. There we go. So I've got the light is blinking to feed the fabric. And now I call it the little crickets blinking. I have my rotary tool in. Sorry if it's extra loud. And it's done. So let me just move this out of the way a little bit. Here we go. So what I always do is I always make sure that I pick up the part of the fabric or paper, cardstock, whatever I'm doing, that is the leftover, rather than trying to dig and find the piece I want to cut. And I would just trim this off, this little section off. So there's our two pieces. And I would suggest to you, you get these little threads. Don't try to dig them off. If you can peel them off with your finger, that's okay. But I have found if I just leave them, if I'm working on a few things, if I just leave them on, they haven't interfered with anything yet. Okay, my nice clean mat, now I've got strands on it again. So there we are, there's our two pieces. And you can see, we cut it out of that piece. And this one, here's the waist right there. Yeah, the two little slivers. So, again, I would cut that off. But I might, unless I was doing half square triangles, I might square this up and trim it off. But for now, I'll just leave it until I need, when I go to cut again, if I need to trim that just so my eyeball isn't thrown off, then that's what I'll do. I'll do it then, not now. So our clean mat, or was a clean mat, this part's still clean. It's pretty, but see there's your little buildup. And until your mat sort of looks like mine was at the beginning, you don't need to clean it every single time. I had to get over that myself. So this little bit that's there, I'll just leave that. Maybe I probably will just scrub that off because I'm putting the mat away for a while. But if I'm working over the, excuse me, over the day or the week or whatever, I'm not going to clean it after every time. Like I said, I've put fabric down on top of these little strings and stuff, and I didn't have any issue at all. So I hope this helps you out, and I hope that you learn to use up your little pieces, save them for the next project you have. So thanks for stopping by. See you next time. Bye.